Thank you, Vidushi, for the invitation, and good morning to all of you. Garrison in academic ophthalmology is challenging as well as rewarding. I will be basically talking why academics, what are the expectations when you want an academic institution, what are the challenges that you're going to face, and some reality check what actually happens, and then of course the final decision is yours, what you want to do, whether you want to go to academics or not. So why think about the academic career first of all? Because it's rewarding, I think in many ways, and I'll just highlight some of the points which really you should consider. If you have a passion for research and teaching, because ultimately what you do is you have to consider what personality type you have, what do you really want to do in life. Now the trouble is that at this early stage in your career, you sometimes don't really know what you want to do in life. I mean, we all talk of having a goal and follow that, but the reality is that sometimes it's hard to at that stage to know what my goal is or what I really want to achieve. I think at that point of time, important thing to consider is what is it that you like doing. I mean, you are already in a profession, and within this profession, what is it you like? You like doing kind of finding new things, you have passion for research, are you very inquisitive type, you like teaching, or your disposition is such that you want to enjoy life. I mean, you are more outdoor, more adventurous type, you want to do other things. So I think you have to consider that before you get into this thing. But if you have a passion for research and teaching, I think academics is really the place to go, because that gives you a continuous stimulus for development, for your own development, for generating knowledge, for getting more information, synthesizing them to better knowledge and education, and ultimately leading to better outcome for everybody. In academic institutions, again, you are constantly stimulated, not by on your efforts, but there are a lot of things happen just by diffusion, because there are a lot of people around you who are active in the same field, and you learn by default a lot of things, even without making much effort. So there's a lot of opportunity for interaction with others on a daily basis, and that actually gives you a lot of opportunity to learn from colleagues as well as from the patients. You see challenging cases every day, and that leaves a lot of things with you. So, and also there's opportunity to work to extend the boundaries of knowledge. So as I said, research basically means you're looking for newer tools. You have problems in clinical challenges, means that you have problems and you are finding the solutions to that. So that means you have to extend your existing knowledge. You have to find new frontiers, and that actually is very rewarding. That gives you a sense of achievement, and I mean, those who publish papers, they know it. Once you see your work in print, it gives you a very different feeling that you have achieved something. And when your work actually gets translated into some clinical thing, it's really great sense of achievement, which I think no money or other status can give you. So you also have an opportunity to go to the research meeting. That gives you opportunity to meet a lot of people in the same field, and also to travel widely, and that gives you recognition in peer group. So that actually is a very gives a lot of sense of self-worth, that you are doing something good to the science, good to the society, good to the humanity. And also you can if you are in good institution, and frontiers of research, you'll get to that latest technology before other people, and that has an advantage, because then also it depends where you are actually. If you are in a government institution or a institution funded by someone else, then which is more likely, then it's not your own investment, so you don't have those hassles of worrying about the funding and managing all those things, so they can be taken care of. But if you're running a research institution, then of course you have to worry about all those things. And of course, if you can get a permanent position in a research institution or in an academic institution, then kind of there's some sort of a job security is also there, and there is some kind of status attached to working in a higher institution, higher education, learning, research, and if you hold a faculty position there, so it's kind of a little better than others. So it's kind of some sort of status is there, and of course once you are well published, then there's a wider awareness of your works, and there's a lot of feel-good factor about it. Then what are the expectations? Now, if you go into a research institution, there are a lot of expectations from you. The biggest expectation that you have to do, you have to find solutions to the existing problems, or better way of doing things that we are already doing. So you have to generate some original ideas, which can be implemented into clinical practice ultimately. Then in an academic institutions, you need to be able to design some courses, curricula, because you have to continue to impart education to younger people, younger colleagues, and you need to find newer ways of doing it more efficiently and more widely. And of course, you are expected to do research, and that actually means that you have to do a lot of reading. So you have to be aware with the latest. You have to review literature, and the way the literature comes here is very hard to keep up in any subspecialty of medicine, and including ophthalmology, and even within ophthalmology, there are a lot of publications every month. So it's very hard to keep up with all those. So basically, you have to be reading constantly and researching the literature, and also with the help of that, finding solutions to the existing problems or the new problems that come up. And then, of course, you have to teach the graduates and postgraduate students, supervise thesis. So all this is expected of you. And then, whatever you're doing, you must be able to communicate to the others in a written form as well as in a verbal form. So you have to attend conferences and be able to communicate your work to your peer group in conferences, etc. Then there are a lot of challenges in this process. I think sometimes our temperament, our basic attitude also matters. I mean, sometimes it's there in you and sometimes it's just not in you. So if you are the one, the research is not for you or the academics is not for you, then just don't go for it, because there's no point in doing something which you don't want to do, because basically what kind of lifestyle you have lived previously before this and what kind of lifestyle you want to do in the future is going to be impacted by what you choose to do or what you choose not to do. And also there's a constant challenge to perform in academics also. It's not, in patients, of course, you have to take care of patients, you have to constantly perform, but same is true for academics also. You have to keep updating yourself, you have to keep generating new ideas and doing new research and publishing. And of course, that's time consuming. So it's your time which basically you have to spend, and ultimately you may end up spending a lot of time. So there's no time kind of there's less freedom for yourself, for patient, for your family, and you may not have much time for social things. The pay package usually is limited if you are in research, and you have to basically struggle for grants many times. The teaching again can be challenging, and the atmosphere of teaching, the dynamics of teaching, they change very rapidly and with the changing technology. And in the current days with the smartphone, iPads, and you have to be ahead of your students, and because students are very keen learners, and you have to be ahead of them if you really want to be good in our profession. And of course, every time you have some new ideas, so that is a challenge. So what happens in reality a little bit, because initial years they are full of actually uncertainties. So when you are joining research academics, you don't really, there's so many pathways. There's no clear-cut defined pathway as such, but there are so many things which you can do. And because when you face clinical challenges or in teaching challenges, there are a lot of unanswered questions everywhere. So you have to tackle those questions, and what happens, what will the outcome. So in any research, you don't really know what the outcome is going to be. You can work on an area of research you have identified. You can work for 5, 6, 10 years, whole year for life, and in the end you may get something really good, or you may not really get anything. So those uncertainties, they always remain in research particularly. Teaching less, but still there are uncertainties. And sometimes there's no assured career path for that way, where you're going to end up is quite uncertain, at least in the beginning. And also, there are very few institutions, who are really good for research and academics. So obviously, there's a competition for that, and most of them time you have to interview for written tests and things like that. So that itself is quite a daunting process and sort of prohibitive. Then we still have that publish or perish policy at work. Unless you may be doing a good job, you may be doing great work, but unless you publish, you're not recognized. And recognition is, I think, something which is very important if you are in academics and in research work. So working hard is essential, but that's not enough. You also have to communicate, you also have to network, and you also have to produce new ideas in the first place. So therefore, in addition to hard work, you have to be resilient, you there has to be some kind of a staying power within you. You have to be able to adjust to those diverse or adverse situations. Because people are going to criticize, even if you are doing a good work, it is going to be put in front of a lot of people, your peer groups, and they are going to judge in their own way. Sometimes even good work that's criticized initially is hard to publish. Sometimes you have to review your work again and again, and it could be quite frustrating. But then you have to have that staying power and not give up. So you have to continue with that. Other things, you have to be visible, and you have to be in your circles. You have to keep presenting, keep writing, keep talking, and basically networking is critical. Is critical for getting patients into your hospital. Similarly, is also critical in getting your publications and your work projected all over. So academicians are expected to write grants. Ultimately, someone needs to fund, and the research is something. The results are unpredictable. As I said, you may work for many years and may not get anything significant, or you may get something really very good, but that doesn't happen often. So so getting funding is not easy. So if you have a good research project, you have to chase funding agencies, and for that you have to write grants, and which are again competitive, and those grants are going to be judged by other people. So there is a bit of a challenge in getting money. So finally, the decision making is basically yours, and make an informed consent. Basically, keep your eyes and ears open, go to different places, have some kind of work experience. Some countries have this concept of work experiences. When you are at that stage, you can go and attach yourself to an institution for a couple of weeks, to a hospital or some research lab or some teaching institution. Stay there for about week to 2 weeks and see what happens there, and whether it suits your temperament or this is what you want in life or not. I think that way you are much better informed to make a decision. And also, do not choose path if you don't have it. If you something don't like in the first go, I think don't try to convince yourself that okay, you're going to like it subsequently. I think if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, I think so. Okay. There are a lot of things to do. There are always things to do. And again, how much time you can commit to it, because the academics means there's a lot of commitment. A lot of commitment in ours. If you are purely a researcher, then commitment to research, but our profession is a little different because we have commitment to patients. So you can't really give that up. In addition, we have commitment to teaching and research. So there's added responsibilities. So that actually puts a lot of responsibility on. But so if you are able to commit, and if you think that commitment could be maintained over a long period of time, I think that's the profession for you. Otherwise, there could be other things. So be realistic in what you want to do in life, and also be aware of the competitions that you're going to face. And most of important is discuss it with whomsoever you can discuss it with friends, peers, mentors, parents, who you feel comfortable with, and then make a decision. And there are opportunities within this framework and as well as elsewhere. So have a contingency plan. If it doesn't work out, go for the plan B. And of course, set a time limit. If you really want to do it badly, that's one thing you can keep pursuing. But then again, there's a limit to everything. If it doesn't, you don't get what you want in a reasonable time frame, I think that's the time to look for it. Thank you so much.